I think I'm on. So, hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Phil Nash, and I'm a developer evangelist at Twilio. If you don't already know, Twilio is a communications platform that allows you to send text messages, make phone calls, make video calls, just communicate through your apps with your users. And today, or this week, we're very excited to be talking about our documentation. We've officially launched a new kind of documentation to help people get started with with Rails. Sorry, not with Rails. With Twilio, and find out many of the use cases and things that people will want to provide with Twilio. Hi there, Brent. Good to see you this afternoon. So yeah, and we're going to spend today actually taking a bit of a look at one of these tutorials, and that tutorial I think is actually available if I haven't broken things, which we'll see about in a minute. Hold on, if I can add it to the chat, I think I can say bang tutorial, and that's not a thing. Okay, bad luck. I can put the commands in, and then Brent just pops the link in. But actually, the link we were looking for is this one. Brent, we're going with Rails this afternoon. Brent bot. The most useful thing to have on any stream I've heard is a Brent bot, unless he's posting links to PHP. In this case, we are indeed going to be looking at Rails. And so that's the tutorial, and I can bring it up on my screen right now as well. Here is that tutorial that we're going to be looking at today. But I'm not just going to kind of run you through the tutorial. You can do that yourself. You have the link for it already, which is kind of good. What we're going to do is try and, in the time I've got here to stream, which is 2.5, maybe 3 hours, see how it goes. We're going to try and build up an application in Rails from scratch that is going to be authenticated with using Rails and a user account system that we're going to build, and then adding a second factor of authentication to that using Authy. Now, Authy is part of Twilio. In fact, we bought them about a year ago, and Authy provides two-factor authentication as a service. It's a particularly useful thing to have if you are a developer and you want to secure your website and your users' accounts much better than simply a password. I've been giving talks about this in the last few months, in which I try and explain a bit about why two-factor authentication is so important to you and to your users. I mean, first of all, it's important to you. If your email account, if your Twitter, if your Facebook, if any of those things, even a Twitch account, we're on Twitch right now. If you haven't set up two-factor authentication for those accounts, then you should go do that right now. You're not going to miss much. You should just go find all the ways of doing it. Go set up two-factor authentication in your Gmail, any of those things, because specifically if you don't actually have a strong password, but things get broken all the time. Other applications get broken. And unless you are particularly on the ball with password management, then you're eventually going to get beaten by it. And then I'm talking about this for you as developers, or for anybody as developers, because users are probably even less likely to be as hot on kind of password management and other such things as maybe developers who know how badly it can go wrong. So I think two-factor authentication should be a part of any site that has any kind of private user data whatsoever, because it is there to keep your users safe. So we are going to we're going to build that, and we're going to do so, as I said in. Well, I don't think I said so, but we're going to kind of try and build up what's behind this this tutorial in Ruby on Rails this afternoon. It might not, of course, be this afternoon for you. So if you are going to join the chat, do come and say hello. Come and drop in kind of where you're from, what you'd like to program in, anything like that. I'd love to hear from you. Cool, so I'm going to get started by starting myself a new Rails application right on the terminal here. And that should be pretty easy. In fact, I might as well make sure I've got the latest Rails first. Can never tell. It does move quickly. Rails, you there? 45.1. Let's just get the latest Rails just to make sure. We're not quite to Rails 5 yet, so that I imagine that's going to be dropping down soon, perhaps even during RailsConf, which is, I guess, coming up in a couple of months' time. I'm kind of looking forward to all the new stuff in Rails. I need to do a bit more exploring around some of that stuff myself, but it's always nice to have to get a new version and get the shiny kind of new stuff coming out in the Rails system. I guess the biggest thing coming in Rails 5 will be Action Cable, which gives us access to WebSockets, which actually might prove to be useful as we get to the end of this application that we're building, as it does require a bit of well, we're probably going to use just polling to get details off the server, but Action Cable and WebSockets would be much better. I thought by this point I'd be able to talk over gem install Rails for quite a while, but it seems to still be hanging there, so I'm sure it's fine. But let's just go see Ruby gems, see that everything's okay there, see what the status is like actually. So if we don't have gems installed right now, this is a... There we go, okay. The upstream... Oh, gem download should be fine. Well, I tell you what, in the meantime, let's not worry about... I'm pretty sure 4251 is probably the latest Rails. Let's go and have a look. 46, okay, we have 46 out. We're going to work with 451 right now, since that was a long time waiting for gem install Rails. So we're going to create a new application just called Authy 2FA, and that shall install into this folder we have right now. Here it all comes. Of course, it will want to run bundle install. There it goes. So maybe we'll have quite a while to wait for Ruby gems. So whilst we're waiting for that, let's take a look at the tutorial here. These are kind of a new experiment for Twilio because we wanted to put the code first. Like blog posts and other things about that try and document how to build things are all very well, but a lot of it is just text. And that's, you know, when we're talking about building applications, the code is very much the most important thing. And this is what we try to build here. We have the developer education team at Twilio to thank for an excellent job so far. I think this is quite amazing, the way it kind of looks like and behaves like an IDE even. So when you go through these tutorials, it's quite good because you just kind of start it, and it will take you and show you all the bits of the tutorial that you need at the time. And let's see how that's going. Okay, we actually managed to install stuff, so that's cool. But just to finish up, having a quick talk about this, like you can step through the samples, you step through the examples and it just tells you exactly how to build this up, and shows you the code that's relevant at the time. I think that's really, I think it's quite powerful. So I will be coming to refer to bits of this code soon, but first we have our Rails up to create. So we've just created a new Rails app, and let's get that open. This is that application. I'm just going to quickly update, of course. I didn't want SQLite 3, I wanted Postgres for today, so I will use the PG gem for that. And whilst I'm here, I will need to change my database adapters as well. Actually, oh, okay, yeah, let's update that. So we're just going to do that, and then we'll just name the databases. Authy 2FA dev, and then Authy 2FA test. And we don't really need a production database, but you know, why not? Prod. Cool. So I updated the gem file there, so I'm just going to bundle install. If I can type that, it's fine. So I'm just using Postgres right now because it seems to be the best kind of SQL database that you can get hold of, best open source one you can get hold of these days. And it's the one that I've been using for the last so many years. I see no problem with like MySQL, and SQLite is good for just testing things out, but we're going to put this in, we're going to use Postgres right here. And that's just installing. Hopefully won't take too long. There we go, that was nice and easy. Cool, and what I can then do is just create my databases. We use oops. You might be able to hear my dog in the background. She's just barking at something right now. Don't know what. Maybe we'll find out what that is soon. Cool, so that's created the databases. I can actually run rakedb migrate to, which there's no migrations to run right now, but that will just set the database up ready for what we need to do. There we go. That's database migrated. And I can actually just kind of run the tests, hopefully, and this should just work, and there'll be no tests yet either. So there we go. We didn't get any tests or anything. So actually, I might just create myself a Git repository. Yes, so now we can keep track of the whole repo as things keep going. I'm sorry about the dog barking in the background. I hope that's not putting anybody off. Oh, I see that Greg's hosting me. So if you are just appearing from Greg's channel, then hi everyone. My name's Phil Nash. I'm a developer evangelist from Twilio, a colleague I work alongside Greg. And you might have just been seeing him playing with Authy, two-factor authentication, and Laravel. But we're now going to be building. It is a great grade. Hi there, Brent. We are going to be we're building a two-factor authentication site in Rails, and all we've done so far is create ourselves a new Rails app, get the database going. And run the tests, and there weren't any tests, so that was nice and easy. Cool. Again, if you are coming by from if you're just hanging about watching or coming by from Greg's channel, then do pop over here, pop into chat and say hello. It'd be great to great to hear from you, and tell me like where you're from. I'm streaming from London this afternoon, and tell me like your favorite programming language as well. Like what do we normally work with? I am a Rails developer, a Ruby developer, so that's what we're building in today. Cool. So I should actually try and run my Rails application here. There's can't think of anything better to do right now than just to make sure it's all working. So I'm going to run that with Rails S. That's short for Rails Server if you haven't seen that before. That's running, cool. And so I can bring up localhost 3000, which is my Rails app, and I should get the Welcome to Rails page. There it is. That, as I said, that is getting an upgrade, I think, in Rails 5. It's going to look a bit prettier. It'll have some of the new Rails branding and things like that. But right now we're riding Ruby on Rails 4, and it's working. So this is a good sign. What we need to do, of course, is we should probably have some sort of actual homepage, not the Rails homepage. So let's generate ourselves a controller. I'm going to stop that for now. And then Rails generate controller. I'm going to generate the welcome controller. And I'm going to give it just an index action for now. And there we go. We get a bunch of stuff generated, including tests. Get the tests there. CoffeeScript and Sass, which I'm probably not going to use for right now, but we've generated them anyway. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. In fact, you can see all the bits that we've generated there, and we've added some config to the roots as well. So the roots file, if you're not used to Rails, is this big long set of comments, but we just added this bit, which allows us to get /welcome/index the root on the path localhost 3000 as we had it just then. But what we really want to do is actually we want to root welcome index so that our / just the home page is our welcome index, and that'd be good. So we have our welcome controller. I'm just going to look at the test right now, and you should get index. We're just asserting should respond with success, so I can run the tests. Just that one test right now. Okay, apparently we are also now, live on the creative homepage. Thank you, Brent. That's kind of exciting. Hopefully we'll see a few more people in. If you are coming in to the chat, if you're coming into the stream, do say hi. My name's Vonash. Come say hi to Brent as well, who's sitting in there doing a grand job of moderating quiet chat room right now. And it'd be great to hear from you. I'm building a Rails application right now, and we have our first test, and it runs successfully, which is great news. We can commit and go home, I think. Of course, if we did run that server again, then we should find that our root path is, in fact, now something a lot less interesting than our welcome aboard page here. In fact, we just have this very boring welcome index file. Boring, sure, but we're going to work with this right now to create ourselves some kind of index. Cool. So actually, our tests work. Our roots are there. That's our index, as you can see. Kind of boring. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add all those things. And I'm going to add those things to my Git repo just to keep track of where we're getting to, and so we can fall back at any one time. So we created the welcome on controller and the index, and the tests will pass, which is good. So what I'm going to do right now is actually I'm going to use the our tutorial application, which is right here, and you find actually that the URL for that whole application is the GitHub repository for the tutorial application is available, and I just posted that in the chat as well. Oh, so we've got a question already from Safor TV. Why use Ruby on Rails? Well, so for me, using Ruby on Rails is very much about. I mean, like in contrast to writing all your own code, using the Rails framework gets you up and going just really quickly. It's like we have a web server. We have it's currently connected to our database. It is serving very boring, but serving pages like this already, and we didn't have to think much about that at all. So if you had to write your own code every time, then you have to recreate all of that stuff every time. That's for me anyway. So Safor TV, what language do you tend to do you code in, and what do you build everything up from scratch in? Let me know in the chat. I'm going to carry on. What I was saying was I'm going to take some of the views from our actual tutorial application, so you don't have to watch me write a whole bunch of HTML. So, for example, this is the this is our application layout, and you'll see what it comes up with later. Okay, so Safor TV. Sometimes you can end up fighting against the framework. That is true, but I don't know. For the most part, particularly with a mature framework, something like Rails, which has been around since 2005, I think now, it's ridiculously old. It's been battle tested for such a long time that if you're fighting against the framework, it's probably you doing something wrong, or that's what I've found when I've been dealing with it anyway. I can see that like PHP, for example, does allow you to get off the ground and just produce a web page straight away, and that's fine. That's kind of how PHP works, but it's not it's certainly not the same with Ruby, and I will show you how this works with Ruby. So just stick around and hopefully you'll see why Ruby on Rails is a good idea. But in the meantime, I've just added this application layout, and as you can see, it's actually, I think, based a little bit on Bootstrap, and we're just adding a couple of things which won't work just yet because we don't have the helpers for them. But this is just going to make things a little bit easier later. And as I said, stop you having to watch me writing out HTML. So if I were to return to the application and refresh that, it should look a bit fancier. No, I stopped the server. Okay. So let's just start the server again, and there it is. Load that up, and we should see a little bit more. Okay. No, I broke something. This is because I broke I cancelled that if at the start there. So I just need to comment all that out so this actually works. I shouldn't need to restart there. And maybe this time? No, we don't have a helper method that I'm missing there as well. But this time it's worked out, and now our application looks a little bit prettier. We still have our index page, welcome index, which is just not so useful just yet. But at least the application looks a little bit better. And as you can see over here, we don't have our username just yet because that doesn't exist. Okay, so. I see Greg's answered in the chat as well, and Greg is also a Rails developer, as well as having shown you a bit of Laravel and PHP earlier. Sometimes starting from scratch is really nice, but when you need to do all of the things that require a web application, then something like Rails, which thinks about those things for you beforehand and has them all ready for you, is quite good. And notice we've bumped up, a few more people have joined in. Just in case you're wondering, my name's Phil Nash, and I'm a developer evangelist at Twilio. And right now we're building an application that uses Authy, which is a Twilio service, to we're building an application from scratch in Ruby on Rails to create users, sign them in, and then make them authenticate using a second factor. It's a phone, either a phone number or your phone, or yeah, we'll have SMS, we'll have tokens. We'll see how this all goes as we go on. But right now, I just have this kind of welcome page, and I'm going to go get myself the main index as well. So this is just stolen also from the tutorial, and this is the tutorial we're following. This is part of the whole brand new set of tutorials that Twilio has created. So take a quick look at the tutorials there, and yeah, take a look at the tutorial there, and you can follow along with what we're about to build. But right now I'm stealing a couple of bits from that. So I don't have a new user path just yet. I don't have a new session path just yet. So I don't want to break that, but now we have some more interesting content at least. So we're using Authy. This is powered by Twilio. I'm going to make implementing two-factor authentication a snap. So we need to, what we need to do in this app is create a couple of controllers. We need one model, our user model. We need a user's controller so we can sign up, and so that we can take a look at our users. And we need a sessions controller, which is going to control our login, our session. So I'm going to create that user model first up. We've just added some bits to. We added some bits there to the layout and the home page. But now we're going to generate ourselves a user model. Rails generate model user. Yeah, cool. And that's given us a migration file, which is kind of useful because that is going to give us that gives us a chance to create a table in our database for the users. Again, Surfboard TV, like being able to just easily do this kind of thing, creating and updating tables in a database is just far easier when you're not writing it yourself. So that's what I think anyway. Oops, stick with that. So we're going to create ourselves a user, and we just need a couple of things for this. Our users are going to have email addresses, of course, and I'm going to make sure the database is unhappy if we don't give them an email address. And we're also going to save ourselves a password digest. We're not going to save the password because that is also a security concern. But instead, we're actually going to use we're going to use a hashing technique called bcrypt, which is going to keep the password, like we turn the password into a hash, something that you can't return the password from, and we're going to check against that instead of the actual password, so that people can't just guess or break into our database and find out and things like that. And we're also going to add a username as well. And that can be, we're going to require that as well, why not? And now we can migrate this database. db migrate. And that will create ourselves our users. Hooray. So I can jump into the Rails console right now and count, we don't have any users, but we do have a user database, which is nice to know. and I could do user.new, and you can see that it has the fields email, password digest, name, other things. So let's get out of there. I'm going to write some tests for our user. Test the truth isn't particularly useful, but it does come out true, which is certainly the case. Do you know what? I'm going to drop user test for right now. What we are going to do is write some validations, though. Oops. And what I was saying actually about hashing the password, what we're going to do is we need to add ourselves a gem for that. So we're going to go back to the gem file and uncomment this bcrypt gem. And bcrypt is, as I said, a hashing mechanism. It's a very secure one. It takes quite a long time to crack, an awfully long time. So Rails actually has this has secure password thing, and it allows you to just do that to a user model. And now, if you give it a password as an attribute, it's going to turn that password into that hash using bcrypt, and that will be nice and secure. And that's our simple kind of version of this for right now. Sorry, just. Cool. What was I saying? Right, we have our user. We've given it this has secure password. We've called this method on it. What we need to do to allow that to happen is install this gem. So I'm just going to head back to here and bundle install. And that's given us our bcrypt gem, and will allow our users to have secure passwords. Good stuff. I'm going to run a couple of other validations into here because we want to make sure that our users have an email address. And again, these are other kind of niceties to Rails that allow us to just write out what we kind of expect from our user model, and not have to think too much about like getting in the way of this is kind of describing how we want the thing to behave, not telling it, not building up everything to tell it how to do that. We want our emails in the system to be unique, so we're going to include uniqueness true there. And finally, I'm just going to add a quick email format. Now this takes a regular expression, which I'm not going to go into too much right now, but this is just going to be a number of characters, an at, and then a number of other characters, and then the end of a string. Oops. It's a very simple email regex, that one. It's just something to try and keep things sorry, getting convinced by the sorry, allow me to stop and respond to a couple of bits in the chat. The bcrypt gem. So gems are Ruby libraries. Ruby is the language we're using right now, and libraries are bits of code that other people have written that we can use, and they're packaged up in what we call a gem. See what they've done there, Ruby gems. You can go to check out all the available Ruby gems at rubygems.org. There's an awful lot of them, not quite as many as packages on npm, but that's what we've been talking about there. Sorry there, Ben. I've no idea what's wrong with drinking water from a pint glass, Brodo 12. Seems perfectly reasonable to me. It doesn't get darker as far as I'm aware. It just gets drunk. I'm glad I'm enlightening you there. That's the hope a little bit with some of this. We're building this application in Ruby on Rails. Rails itself is a gem, or in fact a collection of gems, as you can see from this file, which kind of lists all the gems that we're using in terms of this. But right now we're just writing some validations for our user model to make sure that when we create a user, it's going to be what do we do? That it's going to be as we expect in our system. So I have validated that we have an email address, and that's useful. I'm going to validate that we have a name as well. So we need the person's name, and that's all I'm going to validate for right now. Cool. So that's our user model. And so actually, if we go back to the Rails console, where we can play about with this stuff on the command line, you can see that I can create myself a new user. Nope, no I can't. What happened there? Too many colons into various places. There we go. Let's try that again. I can create myself a new user object, which comes with nothing, and if I try and save that, it's going to return false because I haven't it's going to return false. Oh god, no. User errors. So we have an errors. Those are the errors. We can't have a blank password, and that's been given to us from this has secure password method. Email can't be blank because its presence should be true, and it's also invalid because it doesn't match our regex here, and name can't be blank as well. So if I were to create a new user, if I were to add some bits to this user, so our password is going to be test, that might also fail some validations. We'll see about that in a minute. I'm going to name it test as well, and this is not going to be my main account. I'm just making a quick test one here. If we save that, you can see it returns true at the end, and that actually means that we've got that in. Hey, so quick questions about Ruby in the chat there. Is Ruby similar to PHP and how it works? It's sort of similar. It's a interpreted language, as Software TV says. So you don't need to compile things. I don't really use PHP too much, but it is kind of in that respect. Why use Ruby instead of PHP? Well, I would like to argue that this actually kind of looks kind of nice, and it reads quite well. So we have a user, a class of users, and users have secure passwords, and we're going to validate that the user that has an email that's definitely present and unique, and no one's going to make regex read well. And it also, we're validating the presence of a name is true as well. You can kind of just read out what's being said and kind of understand what the application is doing. That's why I like it. But there's more to this. That's just we've created our user there. So I'm just going to add a few bits to the repo. I'm just going to commit those in. Create user model. And that's that bit done. And now I want to start creating the controllers which we're going to use to create users within our application. How about that? So going to Rails generate controller. We want the users controller. We're going to have an index. No, we don't need an index. We just have a new action, a create action. And that should do, actually. So this is another reason to use Rails. It does a whole bunch of writing stuff out for you. So if we look at Git, you can see more things that have been created for us. And so we can go to our users controller, and that's right here. And right now it doesn't have anything in there except these two methods. We have these two methods, new and create. And what these are going to relate to are paths for the application. So what we're looking for this to be is this is going to be our application users/new, and this is actually going to be users, but we're like, this is going to be a get request, and this one will be a post request in order to get to this action. And we're going to use this to display a form with with fields that the user needs to fill in. So that's our email, name, and password. And then when that form gets submitted, we're going to submit it to this action, this method. And that will create the users, hopefully, or return an error if some data is missing. So when we create a new, when we get a new user, we need to return ourselves a new user object. And this is an instance variable in Ruby. And this will get passed on to the view, so we can use that within the view. And when we create the user, we are going to get some parameters. Now, this is one slightly awkward part of Rails these days that's based on making sure you only get the actual parameters required, and not people being able to. It was a famous bug where somebody managed to hack like future comments into GitHub, just in order to prove it. And so what that because it was allowing through all the attributes that you could have on a model. So in this particular case, we actually say we're going to require the parameters to have a user, and then permit a bunch of things for that user. And those things will be email, name, and password. Those are our three things that we just added to our user model. And so we're going to create a new user using those user params. Oops. I'm seeing, sorry, we've got some talking about the dollar in the email regex. What have I done with that one? Yeah, they're both the end of the line, aren't they? Don't need that. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. What's the any string? Well, I mean, the thing about emails is it's very hard to write a regex that's actually going to cover them particularly well. Yes, this is going to allow you to have the dot is any character, but and more than one of them. But it is just too difficult in my mind to properly regex emails. So I'm trusting that the users are going to use the use their actual email. Cool. So that was that. We're in the user controller. So we're going to create a new user, and we're going to add the parameters that we'll be getting from our form, and then we're going to try and save that user. And in Rails, the active record, that user object, will, as we saw in the console earlier, actually, I'm not going to go back to that, but as we saw in the console earlier, if the user saves correctly, then it returns true. If it doesn't save correctly, it will return false. So if it does return save, right now I'm just going to redirect to in Rails, I think, our root path, which is our index on our welcome controller. Otherwise, I'm going to render the new. That's going to render the same view as the new action gave. So that's what we're going to do right now. and that will just create ourselves a user. Very, very straightforward. We do need some views for this, and as I said, I'm going to be, we have this, we're kind of following this tutorial in a way, although we're building it up from scratch. And we have this, this is the repo for the tutorial. Let me pop that in the chat there. And I'm just stealing the views from that repo because I'm not going to spend, if I spend all afternoon writing HTML, then we won't actually get anywhere with this. So this is new.html. See, we've got the user new page. Like I say, it wouldn't be a very interesting page right now, but it's much more interesting if it looks a bit like this. We don't need those bits just yet. We do have name, email, and password that we'll be writing. So let's do one more thing, which is check our roots. So we have a slightly awkward set of roots created where we just get to user new and user create. And as I said earlier, we actually want the controller to get to user new and post to just users. And we have a shortcut for that in Rails as well, which actually does a little more than that. Resources users will generate us a get to new, a create, a list index, a delete so you can destroy user models, an update action, and an edit action. And we don't need all of those right now, so I'm just going to say that we only want new and create. So we can check those roots by running rake roots on our terminal. And there are our three roots now, and as we say, we've got our new user path with get users new, our users post to /users, which is going to call our create action, and that was our welcome index that we created earlier. Cool. So that means I can probably go to our welcome controller because we now have our new user path in place. We don't yet have a new session path, so we'll get to that later. But if we go over here and start our server up, then let's see if it started. There it goes. And reload this page. It takes a little while for the first one. We've got our sign up link which works, and if we go to that link, we should see a new form for a new user. We do not. We have an uninitialized constant users controller, and that's not good. That's because it's come out as a user controller. That's weird. That's probably my fault when I wrote the generator. Let's just rename that. Rename it as test as well. And we're also gonna, we probably have a user folder there, so yeah, that was a silly mistake there. But that should now work. Let's restart that. So Gerlux2 is asking, when you write an application like Facebook, which is better, PHP or Ruby? Now, PHP itself, like Facebook is actually written in PHP, it happens. But it's, yeah, as Greg's just pointed out, whatever language you're most productive in, if Facebook didn't just start in PHP, it's still PHP as far as I'm aware. But yes, Twitter started in Ruby, and is no longer Ruby. They moved it to Scala for certain reasons. You have to ask them about that though. But there's many Ruby sites, many PHP sites, but also Python, could be Java, could be C#, any of those things. It's really down to what you like, and I like Ruby. And I like Rails because it makes a lot of this stuff really easy. By the end of this afternoon, we should have a full kind of user accounts set up and two-factor authentication. And that's not the sort of thing that I'd be able to do when building in PHP or in building in Python or something like that. So good news, we have this form that's worked out nicely, and so we should be able to I'm just going to put in more test stuff just to make sure this is all working, because this doesn't quite go anywhere yet. But actually, if we miss off the password right now, that should bring us back with an error message. Password can't be blank. Good stuff. And it brings back all the details for us as well. That's good. So I'm just going to pop that in there, sign up, and that's redirected us as I asked it to the home page. And if we take a look at Rails console, then our last user, user.last, is there in our database, and we actually now have 2 users. There they are. Not very exciting just yet, but we've been able to create a user. That's good. That's a good sign. Okay, that's cool. What we should probably do is rather than redirecting the user to a root path. No, we need to create sessions for that. So we've got creating a user and getting a user form and creating a user. That's good for this commit. Just going to add that. So that adds the user's controller. Cool. So let's now create ourselves a sessions controller, which is going to allow us to sign in our users. Let's make sure I get this right this time. And we'll have a new action for this and a create action for this. Actually, we'll have a destroy action as well, which allows you to sign out. We're not destroying users just yet, so that's going to be fine. We certainly don't need some of those views, though. We don't need the create or destroy view. Let's remove some views that we don't need. App views sessions create. App views sessions destroy. I think I saw actually, yeah. Double Nibble asked, is web programming my full-time job? So my full-time job right now is as a developer evangelist for a company called Twilio. You can see that on my chest there. And this is also, the company that it has this tutorial that we're kind of following at this point. This is Twilio, and that's who I mainly work for. Previous to doing this job and where I get to do things like streaming tutorials and stuff like this, I was indeed a full-time... Twilio thinks I'm spamming my own site right now, which is a little bit annoying. But yeah, previous to this job, I was in fact a full-time web developer and worked primarily with Ruby on Rails. So this is Twilio. Allows you to, it's a messaging voice and video API, and we're currently using Authy, which does authentication. It does that authentication via messaging and via an app, and we'll see that happen soon. Cool. If you want to take a look at this tutorial itself, it's right there in the chat right now, or probably several seconds before I said that, because the chat works quicker than I do. We're kind of following this tutorial, so we're currently building ourselves up. We just started destroying stuff. I remember we also have the users create that we don't need. Cool, so we've just created ourselves a sessions controller. Let's go take a look at this. That's interesting. We have a session store, which is interesting. Okay, so this actually, this is part of the application initializers. I just happened to notice this. And our session store will be in cookies, which are just little bits of information that get stored in the browser and sent back and forth with each request. And this is just a key to keep those cookies secret. That key could probably be a little bit more secret, but we'll see about that soon. So this session controller, in our new action, we're just going to present a form again to allow the person to log in with their email and their password. and then that's going to post to our create action, which will verify. Right now, we're just going to verify the password and then set something in our session that allows us. We're going to set something in our session which allows us to recognize that our user is in fact logged in. And that way, what's going on? Yes, sorry, we're going to set something in the session which allows us to find the user that's logged in and prove that they're logged in because it's saved within that session, which is in cookies. And then destroy is just going to delete that cookie, delete that session, and log the user out and send them back to the home page for now, I think. So we can create another new user. And then when we create, all we're going to do is we're going to find that user. And we want to find them by their email address because that's what they're going to enter. Plus, they're going to enter their password. And as I was mentioning earlier, we've hashed that password. That password can't be recovered, the original password. So we need to find the user just by the email address, which will be which gets entered as a parameter like that. So the params hash comes with all these requests and just has everything that gets sent through a form or anything that's in the URL bar, and that's what we get to use, and we get to pull out things like the email address from it. So if we have our user, then if a user exists at all, and user.authenticate. This is another method that's provided by the fact that we have this has secure password method at the top of the user class. Gives us, sure you don't exist anymore. User.authenticate takes the password and it's going to use that same hashing algorithm to turn the password that the user just entered into the hash that we hopefully already stored in the database, and that way we can check that the user exists, and then we can say something like session user ID equals @user.id. It's best in general to store small things in sessions. We can look up the user. We can look up the whole user object from this user ID. And then I'm going to redirect to, we still only have the home page ready right now, so let's do that. Otherwise, we're going to render the new template again, and it'll probably have some errors on it, such as you know, wrong username and password, pretty much. Cool. And then we're going to do destroy, which is a nice easy one, because we're going to take that session user ID and we just set that to nil, so the user is no longer in the session, and we can redirect to our root path. Cool. One more time, I'm going to steal some HTML. Whoop. There we go. I'm going to steal this HTML, and we're asking for email, username, and password. Oh, there's the dog again. Sorry about that. Cool, so we have a login name, and I don't need that JavaScript right now. I don't know what that's for. And that's the only visible thing here. We also need to change our roots again, because our roots got created totally awkwardly. That's not what we want. We want our resources for sessions, and this time we only want a new, create, and destroy. Although actually, if I just look at those roots, I don't think that's exactly how I want the destroy to work. Because that would be a delete to sessions, session with an ID as well. So I don't want that at all. I actually want that to be like a session logout or something like that. So I'm just gonna take that. I'm just gonna like in our we're gonna have sessions destroy path, new sessions path. This all makes sense. Back to the roots. So we just want get sessions destroy. That's easier than having to post, I think, to that kind of thing. Yeah. Sorry, a bit of chat that I've been missing in the chat over here. Double Nibbles asking how long I've done web dev and do I enjoy it. It's certainly not too personal a question. And an interesting answer from Sharps to say that it's going to be Rookie League stuff. I don't know. I think web development can be wildly complicated. Sometimes it's quite simple, and a lot of the time, like we have things like frameworks like Rails which do some of the hard stuff for us. But I was very happy. I'm very happy working as a web developer. I really enjoy working with the web, and I feel like it gives you the most chance to have a lot of impact on what's going on, because kind of creating a website is something everybody should be able to do in a way. I mean, there is, I think, as Greg's saying, like there's a lot of mobile application development going on right now. Yeah, sorry, few chats going on there. Tips on picking up languages quickly. No, I'm very bad at picking up languages quickly, Danny boy, I'm afraid. Maybe somebody else in the chat has tips on that. I'm trying to learn both Elixir and Swift right now, and I'm not doing a very good job of doing that. So I would also like to hear tips on picking up languages quickly. The one I normally say is just try and build a project that you want to see in the world, and use the language you want to do it with that, and that's gonna take you down a bunch of paths, and you'll find out how to build stuff that way. I think it's kind of that's a good way, I think. But as I said, I'm finding it hard to find the time to do that right now, which is really annoying. So if I look at okay, my roots now are a get to sessions destroy, which is kind of nice. That's what I was hoping for, which means I can actually kind of go back into our this is our application layout, and I'm just gonna link a bunch of stuff that we had there. That's not going to help. We have a sessions destroy path, our new user path, our new session path, and I'm also going to, I need one couple of other things which go in our application controller. So the application controller is actually like a class that all the other controllers are inherit from. They get a lot of all their information from this application controller, which is really inherits from something within Rails, the action controller base. And what this means is that if we put methods into this controller, they'll be available within the other controllers as well. And in fact, if we turn them then into helper methods, they can be available in our views. And so what I'm looking to do is now just create this signed in method, which is pretty straightforward, thankfully, because we know a user signed in if we've put a user ID in the session. That's fairly straightforward. So we can just say session user ID present. I think actually that's Rails, and then we can just create it into a helper method. Actually, sorry. It's there's a couple of methods here. We actually want to be able to get hold of our current user as well, and this is a much better way of doing things. So we can we're going to get the current user, and we're going to find their ID using that session user ID. Now, if there is no session user ID, then that's not going to find anything, and it's just going to return nil. And actually, we don't want to do that for that reason. No, we do. This lives for the just a single request, and so if there's not a current user at the start of the request, it doesn't matter if there's not at the end and that request is dealt with. And then we're just gonna like signed in will be like current user.present, which will be false if current user is nil, and true if we do have a user. So we're going to turn those into helper methods so we can use them in the views as well. Cool. And so I can uncomment this bit of the view. And actually we can say welcome back current user.name right now. We don't have an account path to link them to yet, which is just what's happening here. And that's that. And I actually had the this bit can be uncommented as well. That was just playing with the views there. I say, don't want to spend the whole time writing HTML. So that's the views that come from the end of the application. And let's run this right now. Let's see what's going on in our app. Whilst that's picking up, I'm just saying grunt work in web dev. It depends on what you define as grunt work. Like if you enjoy building web applications, which I know I do, then I've broken something. If you enjoy building web applications, then it's kind of a good thing. Invalid address. That's interesting. Have I started up another? I've not seen this error before. What's happening? Let's wait for that to start. That was really weird. Has anybody yeah. Has anybody seen this error before? I've whitelisted IP. This is really quite strange. I have an invalid address error. I'm gonna have to Google for this, I'm afraid. I've genuinely never seen this happen before, and I wasn't expecting it to happen right now. Stack Overflow hopefully comes to the rescue. Let's see about that. Nope, I need this. Yep. But why would I'm not quite sure what's gone on here. Sorry about this. We've got web console, which is weird. So we like this does look a little bit weird. I'm not quite sure what's happening here. Yes, hi Cyclia. I was doing better than having to be on Google for a minute, but something has just fallen apart in my Rails application for some reason. And so I'm trying to find out what. I've never seen this error before, so it's I have no idea what's happened. We don't need these things. I'm getting an error just trying to load the thing up. Ah. Okay, I've just rolled back the... it's a good thing I was using Git, I guess. I've just rolled back some of the bits there. And what I should be able to do is start the server. That's completely broken. I'm being told, oops, that this could be something to do with Postgres, which is interesting. Bear with me 1 second. Sorry, I was sent an answer by Greg across a different chat thing, which is only working on my phone, so I'm looking on there right now. The suggestion being that it might be something to do with Postgres. Yeah, that's the same thing as well. But I'm not trying to validate things in Postgres as IP addresses. This is just the IP address I'm trying to run the application with. Thanks, Greg. This is the suggestion from the Rails thing is, like, this isn't just happening when I try and load a page. This is so strange. Well, it doesn't look I've got any. I don't think it's anything to do with Postgres, because I'm not saving IP addresses in it, and this seems to be what's going on there. That's interesting. What I'm going to do is actually like try and copy this, which looks really weird. It looks like a bit of a... I am in the development environment, yeah. Yeah, that's the default environment that it starts up. It starts in development. I seem to have this kind of weird looking IPv6 kind of looking like address, which no, oops, this is interesting. Okay, so it's a local IPv6 address. This is bizarre. I've changed nothing to do with IP addresses right now. This is so weird. I'm just going to try one thing, which is like doing what this suggests actually, which is to have a host file which forwards whatever this kind of IPv6 looking thing onto localhost. See if I have that available. I do have that available, which is so weird. Well, what if I comment that out? Because that one's not helping me right now. Now I've got trapped in Vim, which is no good either. You can't see it, so that's probably better for me. just excuse me. I'm just I'm commenting out the line that forwards that very weird IPv6 thing there, and hopefully maybe this will do something else. Yes, that's worked. So something to do with IPv6 there. That was quite weird. Yeah, I mean, so the thing about the issue there was that it was just causing a weird problem that well within Rails that failed before we even got an error page up. So that was a strange one. Sorry about that. But I have no idea. I've never seen that before. Oh well, fixed. Good. What were we looking at? No idea. Oh wait, I rolled back all my stuff. There we go. So that should start up again. Mind your IPv6 stuff, guys. It's yeah. So I should have my kind of logged in links and things like that. So I got my sign up or log in. I should be able to go to log in, and that's right here. So I can log in with one of my test accounts that I created earlier. And I don't want to remember that login, no. But we got welcome back, and that's a test account I don't think I gave a username to. Should have done. Oh no, the problem is I missed the equals in the embedded Ruby there. I got there with the unstashing as well. Thank you. Welcome back, test. Hooray. So that's all working. I should be able to log out as well, which logs the person out. Good. Cool. And let's do one more thing, which is just to I think I can actually commit that now that we're all back on track. And so I'm going to create one more controller called the account controller, which is going to keep secret account stuff for our user. It's going to be show. Create this show action for that because it's going to be showing stuff about that user. And account controller show, and this is going to just actually get our user from the session. And so actually what we want to do in this particular one is create something where we can hide not get access to this account controller if the user's not logged in. And so we're going to create one more method here, and this is only going to be used by controllers. So we're going to make a private called authenticate, and this one will redirect to our new session path. So it will ask people to log in and return. So that it doesn't carry on throughout the app, throughout the controller, unless our user is signed in. And again, this is another reason I like Rails and Ruby, is because you can write out a bit of code like that, which says redirect to the new session path and return unless signed in. And it means what it says. It's going to redirect to our new sessions path and return that. Unless, of course, we're signed in. So we have that, and that means I can just call authenticate right there. Or actually, we can call before filter. I think it's actually changed name now. That's going to be a method then that gets run before any of the actions get run. I'm pretty sure we changed like Rails before filter. Yeah, it's now before action. I think that's been deprecated and been moved to before action. So let's put that in instead for action. Cool, and I need to go to the roots. And we don't want get account show, we actually just want resource. So it's a singular resource in this case, account, and only the show action. So we can take a look at the roots that we created there. Hey Holmar, so this program we're writing is we're building user account system in Ruby on Rails, and we've just getting to the point where I've created an account controller which I'm trying to block off non-logged in users from seeing. So this is good. So I have, oops, I'll need to restart the server. And when I'm not logged in, I should be able to try to go to account like this, but it's going to redirect me to the sign-in path. Oops, account. And it's going to be like, hey, no. Also, there's something broken in that as well. Okay. The roots do match in priority from top to bottom, but I'm asking for the account. The account root. Oh, accounts controller isn't initialized. Seeing the wrong error again. This is me and naming controllers wrong once more. Controllers are always, even if you're doing a singular one, referred to as plural. Apparently something I can't remember. So let's try that one more time. Oh, hey, Jay Wombles. Glad you're looking forward to the live streaming schedule. That's a good point, actually. We do. If you guys, if you all are interested at all in what we're actually doing here, then there's more people from my team who will be streaming. So Greg and Brent are in the chat right now. Greg was on earlier and telling us how to do this kind of stuff in PHP and Laravel. And I believe that Brent is on tomorrow. So there's this whole kind of... there is this whole streaming schedule of what we're going to be doing this week and what tutorials we're going to be looking at. And I beat you to it, Greg, according to my chat at least. So yeah, do check out the rest of the team. And we do have a team page here on Twitch where you can find the rest of the team. I think that's it, if I spelled that all right, in the chat there. And yeah, come and watch the rest of my team also kind of build applications in front of you and things like that. So anyway, now I've corrected my spelling once more. You should be able to see. I try to go to account and it's all like, no, you're not logged in. Welcome back. You need to log in to do that. I'm going to do one more thing, which is grab a view of the account from... It's not a very interesting view, really, but... We'll add some more bits to that later. So if I were to log in now... I could go back to that account and it will give me back my email address. There we go. Whoa, not a very nice table we've got there. Maybe I will have to write some... let's just do this. Might tidy it up a little bit. DT and DD. This is a definition list in HTML if you're learning web development at all, and it is used for things like this, where you have a definition. This is the email, and then the user's email itself. So if I have a look at that, is that going to lay it out a bit nicer? Nah, slightly. Better than the table was anyway. And test is my name in this case. So so that's working, and it means I've got one more thing that I had in my application layout, which was this link to that accounts path. So if I refresh that now, you will find out up in the top right here we also have this link to the account. Cool, so now we know, now we've built a user, we can create users, we can log them in, we can log them out, and we have an account page for them which is secret. And I should probably make that obvious by putting kind of, you know, other secret stuff here. Maybe you'd want to keep, you know, other information. I don't know what this site's about. We're just building a site which has two-factor authentication control in it right now. So right now we've built this, and we can sign up, we can sign in, and I'm pretty happy with that. So what this means is it's probably time to actually kind of protect this account, and we can do that with two-factor authentication. And as I said, we're kind of looking at this tutorial here. This is two-factor authentication with Authy. If you're unaware, or if you've joined the stream sometime late, then let me just tell you a little bit about two-factor authentication again. It's the idea of keeping your account secure by having not just one secret kind of key to get into the account, but more than that. And normally, you know, you have your username, which is not really a secret, and a password, which is a secret. But two-factor authentication requires another and a different way of authenticating with it. Normally, that's using something like your mobile phone these days. There's a really good example of two-factor authentication in real life off of the internet. It's something like your bank card. So if you're going to, say, go to a cash machine and you want to get money out, and you put the card in, you have the two things. You have the thing that you own, which is the card, and then something that you know, which is your PIN number normally. So that's kind of two-factor authentication in the real world. When we're on the internet, we tend to use something like our phone as a second factor of authentication. And sometimes we can receive that via text message, and other times we have apps with which to handle that. And Authy allows us as developers to implement two-factor authentication really easily, and it also allows users to then use the Authy application, which is right here. If you can see that, that's just one of those kind of codes that you would enter into your site, into a site when trying to log in, and that's what two-factor authentication is about. So right now we've built a system in which users can log in with their passwords, and now I'm going to add two-factor authentication to that right now using Authy. So first of all, we actually need to create ourselves an application within the Authy dashboard. And so if you log into your Twilio account, and you'll need a Twilio account for this as well, you can find up in the product section Authy under authentication. I'm on that page right now, and that gives you the opportunity to access your Authy dashboard. And this actually asks me for a second factor of authentication. I've already logged into Twilio, and now my second factor is using Authy. And I'm going to just sign in there. And this has brought me to my dashboard. And I'm actually going to create a new application for this, because this is our Twitch streaming demo. I'm going to create that application. and that's given me API keys, and you can see they're hidden right now. And I'm going to keep this hidden because, well, I'm unlikely to ever put this application live, but just in case I accidentally do so, I don't want anybody stealing those credentials. So, if I go back to my application, I'm just going to commit all those changes I made just there. Okay. Brent is back. I didn't realise you'd gone anywhere, Brent, but welcome back. Good to have you back. We're just about to start with implementing Authy right now, and I've just created myself an application in the Authy panel, in the Authy dashboard, and I'm going to do one thing, which is to add the Authy gem to my gem file. The Authy gem is available again from Ruby Gems. It's also open source and on GitHub if you want to go and look at how it works. So I'm just going to add that to my gem file and install it. Meeting. Always fun. I'm glad you think Ruby's interesting. Twig Pro? I don't know. There are a lot of gems. It's because we rely a lot on the open source community and the idea that other people, or in fact the community at large, is better at creating things than ourselves on our own, and it can make us quicker to produce stuff, and everything tends to be more secure and more safe that way as well. So I have installed the Authy gem, which is good, and what I need to do is initialize that. So actually, if we're looking at the Authy Ruby GitHub page right now, which I can just post that in there too. We need to set a couple of things up, our API key and then this API URL. And in Rails, we're going to do that in config initializers, as it suggests right here. So I'm just going to, what have we got? Config initializers. So I'm going to create a new file there called authie.rb. And I'm going to do, oops, where's it gone? We don't need to require Authy when you're in config initializers because Rails will have done that for us. And I need to include my API key here. So this is about the point where I actually go and reach for another gem. I'm going to put that in there. And this is one I wrote, or I actually extracted out of a project back at my old job. So I'm not entirely responsible for all the code for it, but I did decide to extract it and release it to make things easier. And this is a gem called Enviable, which allows us to store things within the in our application, but make them appear as though they're in the whole app's environment. And so to do that, I'm going to add a new file called env.yaml here in the config directory, and that's where I'm going to put my Authy key. Oops. And I'm not going to show you that one because, as I said, I need to keep it secret. So I'm just going to whip that over there, and then I'm just going to get my Authy dashboard. I'm going to take that over off the screen as well. Yep. And that way I can unlock and look at my key, and then paste it into my env.yaml. And I've done that now, which means I can now take a look at env Authy API key. Will have my Authy API key in when I restart the server. And we can prove that actually. Oops. Isn't what illegal? So Twig Pro, I don't know if there is an easier between PHP or Ruby. I certainly find Ruby easier. PHP and Ruby, it's down to your taste, really, I think, and what you have experience with. I would probably encourage people to learn Ruby, but that's because I like it. And I'm showing Rails right now, so if you see things that you like, no, so Dodgewell, no, it was code that we were using in many projects, and so extracting into a gem made it easier for us, and then being able to share it back with the community of people who might want to do it the same was perfectly reasonable. So no problem there. Now I've given you my key. Well, that's wonderful. I will change that later, but as you can see, Authy is now initialized with my API key. All that work to try and keep it hidden from you guys and from you all, and I've gone and shown it off there. Actually, what's interesting about that is that this is. Let's go back and look at that. I can actually generate myself a new API key and keep it all secret myself. So I am going to generate a new key. That's going to stay secret this time. So I'm going to go do the changing things over. Yeah, how about that? I just can't believe myself at times. So I've generated a new key, so that's fine. Everything is going to be okay. I can enter that, and this time I won't show you. I'm just going to say it's definitely behind this env here. Cool. So if we take a little look at the tutorial, this is going to show us a couple of things what we need to do. So if I move on to step 1, this is a similar way of doing it. I actually I don't tend to use Rails application secrets, but the tutorial will take you through that if you're interested. And then this has taken us to our users controller. Now, if we look at our users controller, it's a little bit more, a little simpler than that right now, because within this one, firstly, we can register our user and actually log them in, which is probably a nice thing to do. Oops, if they're saved. If a user is saved, when we create them, we'll log them in. That's nice. But we're also going to register that user with the Authy API. And to do that, we actually need to take down a couple of other bits of information, a phone number and country code of them. And this is because we're going to do, Authy by default will send text messages in order to authenticate other users. And so we need to send Authy that phone number and the country code, so we know which country code to use when trying to dial them or when trying to send them a message. And what Authy will return from the API is an ID that we can then refer to that user within the Authy system and send that ID in order to send authentications to that user. So I'm going to add these things to our user account so we can save a phone number, a country code, and an Authy ID. I'm going to do that by creating myself a migration to the database. Generate migration. Add Authy details to users. I see Brent's complaining that Ruby is not the most performant. I do find, or not complaining, suggesting that it might not be the most performant language. That might be the case, but it's a good problem to have if you're doing stuff that Ruby can't handle. And it absolutely can be made performant as well. I've had no real problems in the past with Ruby applications that we've built, either myself or in previous jobs. But we are adding, right now we're adding our, not always the most performant, no, true. It has also improved in performance as well though, recently. Right, we're going to add our details to this, we're going to add the phone number, country code, and Authy ID to our users. So we're going to add a column This is always where I expect to see. This is the one I always forget how to do because I used to use TextMate instead of Sublime Text, and that had completion on this kind of stuff. But I'm sure I can get away with this. We're adding a column to users. It's going to be called phone number, but it is going to be a string. And we're going to do the same for country code and for Authy ID. What we can actually do is go check in the tutorial here. If I take that up to full screen, I can go and look at. No, I can't. I'm going to look at the code on GitHub so you can see what I'm looking at here. And I'm going to look at the migrations. In fact, I'm going to look at the schema, which just tells me what kind of thing I should be trying to match with my database with this tutorial. Yep, all strings. And there's an Authy status there, which we don't need to look at just yet. But these are just strings. Cool. So in that case, I can migrate my database. Oh, hi there, ID Eric. How often do I stream? I tend to stream once a week at about this time, and it's all been coding so far. I'm not so into streaming gaming, so it's been coding. It tends to be Ruby, like I'm doing today, Ruby and Rails, or sometimes JavaScript. It tends to be front-end JavaScript if that's interesting at all to you. So last week I was making push notifications using JavaScript and browsers, which is actually a fairly new kind of thing. And the week before was about video chats and web components. So that's the kind of thing I tend to work on. The rest of my team, as Brent has pointed out just now, or I've just seen him point out, the rest of the team at Twilio actually streams a lot more, and so we actually have, we have that team there, and there is also, Brent, if you want to share the blog post talking about what we're streaming this week as well. As we have some things planned for this week, which you should join in and check out. Oh, well, thank you for following. And I've noticed that there's a few other people that have followed, so thank you all who have followed. And if you want to kind of join in and get notifications when I am streaming and when I am showing off code a bit like this, then please just drop us a follow and that'd be great. Double Nibble, yes, that's Gary Bernhardt's What video, which is fantastic. Although oddly enough, does also include some Ruby, so it's a it's a great video. It's a hilarious 5 minutes. If you haven't seen it, just I think you could probably get away with searching what. Probably just not quite. There's Destroy All Software Talks. That's I tell you what, I'm going to drop the link in. It is a great talk and always hilarious. There we go. Cool. But in the meantime, I'm writing Ruby right now, and I did just migrate the database, so I have these extra details on the user, and that means I need to take those extra details when the user signs up. So we're going to go to the users new, this form. And so previously we had our name, email, and password, and we need two other bits, which would be phone number I've got a copied password field this time. It'll just be a text field. And then also we got the label country code. And so we want people to enter your country code. That makes sense. And again, we want it to be a text field and country code. And actually, Authy provides a little bit of JavaScript to make this a little bit easier. So we'll see this one first. Let's see what happens right now. Because country codes aren't that obvious to people at sometimes. So let's reload this page. We're actually looking at the sign up page is what we need. So here's our phone number and our country code. That's fine. And my country code would be 44 if I did this. But I'm aware that Authy actually makes available some JavaScript to make this easier. And that's certainly buried somewhere in the tutorial, I'm sure of it. Sessions.js, no. That does some other stuff. Let's take a look in GitHub, because oops, let me do that. I'm going to take a look in GitHub and just see if we're including some. We have got Authy forms. We should have done. Yeah, so we've included this Authy forms CSS and a bootstrap. Maybe I have. Oh no, there's the Authy form JavaScript as well. I probably need to put some sort of class in there or something like that. Is in fact true. I need to add an ID. So let's go back here. So we've included some JavaScript from Authy, which is going to make this look nice, much better. In fact, it's actually better to have country code come before the phone number as well. So we're going to add an ID to this, which is Authy countries, and an ID to this text box, which is Authy cell phone, and that will help the JavaScript hook up to it. And hopefully we'll see that turn out here. Okay, so we have this kind of drop down of countries, which is useful. So I'm going to add the United Kingdom there, and so I'm actually going to sign up myself right now. That is my email address there. If you do need to get in contact with me at all about anything about Twilio, it's philnash@twilio.com. I'm not going to use a particularly secure password right now. I'm also going to, my country code is the United Kingdom, it's +44, and that is my number there. So I'm just going to no, I'm not going to sign up just yet, because we haven't changed anything in our controller. And our controller is right here. And what we need to do, as it says in the tutorial here, the user's controller, is that we need to register our user with Authy. And this is why we added those two extra things, the extra phone number, the country code, and the Authy ID. It's just so that we can register our user. So we need to extend our available parameters to include phone number and country code. And then if the user's saved, we're going to log them in and register. Authy API register user. Let's just check this out. So we need to register them with an email address, which will be the user email address. The country code. Now you can see where this is coming from. And finally the phone number. And we can then update our user with the Authy ID that comes back from that API request. So right now, I'm showing you the kind of basic way of doing this with Authy, which basically takes 3 API requests to get somebody signed up and then logged in successfully with two-factor authentication. We just need three API requests. The first one is this register user one, which registers the person with Authy. And the second two will be when you're logging in and verifying that you got the login correct. So you're going to log in, and we need to send a verification token to the user, and then when the user enters that token in, we need to verify that with Authy as well. So thanks for stopping by, ID Eric, who's just off right now it seems, but thank you for following, and for following the rest of the team as well, particularly the Python developers. Ruby's cool too, I promise. Cool, so this should work, and what I'm going to do is just restart the server because we've changed the controller there. And I'm going to go over to our application, and this should all be ready to go. The server started, and if I sign up, that's going to sign my new user up and register them with Authy at the same time. And I don't know if you can. Let's see if I can show you this. But right at the top, of my screen there, I have the Authy app already, and so it's just sent me a notification. There to say that my new account has been added. So, so Authy is already letting me know that this is what's happening. And as we can see now, we're logged in. We've got our secret stuff, and we can log out. Now, we need to now add our the other side of the Authy two-factor authentication, which is logging in and confirming these details. So we need to go to our sessions controller. And what this means is when we create when we authenticate our user, instead of logging them in straight away, I'm going to kind of put in a temporary kind of pre-2FA user ID. Because this is still not going to satisfy our application controller. This is not going to satisfy finding by user ID because that's not in the session right now. This is kind of our pre-two-factor authentication user ID. And then, and I say if we look at the tutorial, which hopefully is going to show us. Oh, we got one touch in this one. Let's see. We're going to get to one touch later. I'll tell you a bit about that in a bit. It's a little bit more complicated, so I want to get the simpler way out of the way first. And that is using Authy API request SMS. Oops, stop. So I'm just going to copy that. As you can see, this is pre-2FA user ID. So we're going to request the request SMS, and that says request SMS. But if we have the app like I do, that's actually going to send a push notification to my application, and it's going to generate the token within the application. You can actually make it send a request, send an SMS request. In fact, we'll do that in just a. I'll do that in just a minute just to show you. But right now, we need to do this, and we don't need to redirect to the root path. Let's actually generate ourselves a two-factor path. Let's say that. I'm going to make this two-factor path right here. And I have some HTML for this one, so I'm going to create that as well. Sessions, new file. It's going to be called twofactor.html.erb. And here's some URL for that. So we need the Authy verify path, and an Authy send token path. get rid of that for right now. So we've got the two-factor, so we're going to create roots, and we need a path in which we're going to verify this as well. Authy verify. So if we go to the roots, we can create those. We're in sessions here, so oops, much like get sessions destroy, we can do get sessions to factor, and we're going to have a post. Oops, to sessions. What do I call that? Authy verify. Cool. I'm just going to check the roots I've got there. Make sure they all look about right. So I've got the sessions Authy verify path, which is what I will use right there. Path. So the two-factor path is just going to the two-factor path is just going to show our user equals user dot we're going to find our user. Our user is, in fact, find by ID. Sorry, in this case, our session pre-2FA user ID, and that's all we need from that. And then on our verify path, what we're going to do is let's take it to the tutorial. This is our verify. We're going to find our user and verify that using the API as well. And if the token's okay, then we can set our session user ID as that user ID and log them in, redirect them to the account path. So I can actually just copy all of that, all of it. And that is that's how we verify the people. So we're going to call off to verify using the token that's going to be entered. So let's and if that token's okay, then we can, as I said, log the user in properly and redirect off to the account path. Otherwise, it's an incorrect code, and we just try to get the user to log in again. In fact, we can kick them totally out of this process and make them enter their username and password again. Cool. So let's restart that server. That's started, cool. And I'm going to go to log in. And use my not particularly secure password. And annoyingly, I forgot to do the redirect, change the redirect. So redirect to the root path there, but actually it should be to the sessions two-factor path. So if I just start that up again, I can go back to try and log in again. Oops, not connected just yet. Here it comes. go and log in this time, it's going to send me on to that two-factor path, which didn't work. Because I'm using the wrong thing. So I used the wrong session variable there, which is why I couldn't find the user with the ID of nothing, because there wasn't nothing in that session variable. Now we've restarted, we should be able to see that again. And it should ask me for my code. There's my verification code. So one more time, we've got the little notification came from Authy there. Oops. Now it's gone to sleep. Okay. Notification came from Authy, and I'm going to open that up. And you'll see we've got the passcode there, which I'm going to go and change. I'm going to enter that number now, 2991299, and that is going to go and call off to the Authy API to verify that, and it's going to send me into the other secret stuff area. Hooray! So we've now actually built two-factor authentication into the system, and it's not taken that long at all. In fact, just under 2 hours, and I've been stopping to chat with you guys, stopping to chat with you all as well. So that's, I think that's worked quite well. Now I just want to show you the rest. I just want to talk through the rest of this tutorial, because I think that's as far as I'm going to get with writing code right now. But I want to run this tutorial just back 1 second, because we did this with the with our go through this. But I want to just show you this image here, which is an even fancier version of what I've been building. And I don't know if you caught that there, but the idea is you go through the login, and instead of having to open the application up and see the number, it's going to ask, like, would you like to approve this request? And instead of having to enter that 6-digit number, you can just approve the request right there in the application, and it sends you straight through. And the tutorial here just talks a little bit, and this is the page I'm on. Let me share that with you. The tutorial I'm on says that what we do is we send a one-touch approval request. If the user has one-touch enabled, then we're going to get a success message, and the user can then hit approve in the Authy app. What Authy is going to do is make a post request to our application with an approved status, and then we can log the user in. So what we can see right here is that instead of what I built earlier, which is to request SMS using Authy, this instead uses Authy one-touch send approval request, and it sends the user ID, and you can actually send a bunch of other details. So you can see that in the screenshot again, where it says like who's trying to log in and what your email address is in that account. Right here. That kind of goes by quickly, but basically you can send these details through, and Authy then shows those in the screen, and that's kind of useful because you can't spoof things from that. And then if that one-touch request has gone through all right and has come through as one-touch, then what the application is then going to do is sit and wait for that post request to come through. And we need to build something for that post request. So that's how we do the one-touch request. And we build something for our callback. And we'd have to register that endpoint in our Authy panel, which I am logged into. Let's go and see that. So we should be able to set up. 1 once again, Authy needs me to log in with Authy. 374. This is our streaming demo, and we should be able to set up One Touch for this right here. So we can enable One Touch, and then, oh, that works. So what I'll need is presumably One Touch settings. Here we are. So what I would do is, and I don't have this right now, but what I would do is add the URL for my application in here, and that is where Authy would post post the correct login once the person approves this in the application. We'll post that through to there. So we're not going to do that right now, but we're going to carry on looking through the tutorial. And so what happens is when we get that callback from Authy, we'll need to do stuff with it. In this case, we're going to find the Authy ID, find the user by that Authy ID, and update their status. So this is where within this application, the users have like a current status of whether they're trying to log in or not. And in this, what we're going to do is update the status from Authy to say, yes, logged in, and render back just an OK 200 response. You can, as you can see just down the bottom here, just to make sure that Authy is definitely sending those requests to you, you can authenticate that the request came from Authy. And this uses a signature method, which I won't go into right now, because you just need to copy this code and use it, and that would work. But that keeps you safe. And there's more details on that in the Authy documentation, which is in the chat room right now. And then, once you've got that callback, we then need to do some stuff with the front end. And this is why this application has a bunch of JavaScript in it as well. So this stuff, this hooks into the login form, and rather than sending the login form via normal HTML, we'll send it via AJAX, via XML HTTP, via an XML HTTP request, and then it's just going to show up an Authy modal, which is the thing that on the like demo video just a minute ago was the one that just says it's waiting for One Touch approval, and then we're going to check for One Touch, and this is kind of a looping thing, so it's going to keep looping every 2 seconds, and it just checks against one other endpoint, Authy status, to see if the user has been approved just yet, and if they have, redirect them onto their account page. Otherwise, if it was denied or if it just didn't kind of work, then we can show them the token form or send them an SMS, that sort of thing, in order to verify them in another way, but still using their Authy account. So that's what that does. And that's why I'm saying, like, when it comes to Rails 5, we'd probably be able to do this via Action Cable, and it will be a lot quicker and a lot easier, because the One Touch status here, this is just a thing that gets polled once every 2 seconds. We find the user, and if they have the approved status, then we log them in and render that, yes, the user is now approved and can be logged in. Right, and so this is kind of that fallback that we just built, the slightly less complicated part of it, in the application here. So if I can, I'm going to just spend a little while just running back over what we achieved in this stream, and do, if you've got any questions about any of this, then do pop a question in the chat, and I'll try and answer that by the end. But what we've done, over the course of the stream so far has been create an entirely new Rails application, create yourself a user model which has a couple of validations for email and name, although we could actually probably validate, because we need that phone number. We need the phone number and country code. for when the user signs up as well. And so we have this user model, and we have an email, name, phone number, and country code. And we can create these users using the user controller. And when a user is created, we just register them with the Authy API. And that's what's going to power our two-factor authentication. And that makes a single API request off to the Authy API that registers the user using their email, country code, and phone number. That's the country code for their phone number, and gives them back an ID within the Authy system. And so that can create users, which is always good. We also have our sessions controller, which allows people to log in. And when we're logging in, firstly, obviously, we find our user by the email they entered, and then authenticate them using the password they entered. And this authenticate method is powered by Ruby on Rails, and this has secure password method that's invoked on the user class. It gives it an authenticate method that, because we're not storing passwords in plain text, we're storing just hashes of the password. So that fixes that all up for us. And then when the user is partway logged in, we're going to kind of set up their kind of partway logged in ID. And then this says request SMS from Authy, but what that will do is either send an SMS or will send a notification to the application on the phone and redirect them down to their two-factor path. Two-factor path is going to ask them to enter either the code sent by SMS or the code created by their application. And that is then verified in this function, which verifies using the user's Authy ID and the token that they enter into the form asking them to verify. And if that's all okay, then we're going to properly log the user in, get rid of their partway get rid of this partway logged in thing, and redirect to the account path. Otherwise, if they got that wrong as well, then we can redirect them back to the new session path and make them log in fully again. And we also finally have a destroy method down here, which logs people out. Which makes sense. Cool. And if I just want to show that back again, how it works in person. That won't be connected. So let's see this application working. What I can do, in fact, actually, I'm just going to go and delete all the users so I can sign up again and show you the process. So destroy all is always a fun method name to type, I think. But now we don't have any users left in our database. But it does mean I can go and sign up as myself. Nope, I need to restart the server, of course. Right, so that started, so we should start that up again. And I can go and sign up. I am signed up on the sign up page here. So that's me, I'm Phil. I'm Phil Nash at twilio.com if you want to get hold of me. And I'm going to enter a rubbish password right now because this is not much. The Authy JavaScript actually allows us to do this nice kind of drop down, which shows the country code for a phone for the. So you could actually be searching by United Kingdom rather than 44 as I was searching. And then there's my number going in, and so I can sign up. If I sign up, then you should see. I should get a notification. Not going to do it now, of course not. It's because I already have this application added to the Authy app, but I'm logged in and registered with Authy. In fact, we can. Yeah, I'm logged in and registered with Authy. If I log out now, I can go back and log in. put in my email and password. And this is where we should get this is where we get a notification to say that that I'm trying to log in. Let's see that. Oh, there it comes. So I can tap that. I will get my code. It's come up as saying Twitch. It's because I called the app Twitch streaming demo. But if I enter this code, which is 7261612, 7261612. I actually want to prove one little thing for you here as well. There's that countdown clock that's running out of time there. But most applications, when they make this happen, particularly if you've done it with Authy, that doesn't. You get a little bit of leeway on verifying that code. So whilst the time ticked over, then it's still verified that previous code worked. And so there we are. I'm now logged in using Authy. So I do recommend you check out the tutorial. It's a wonderful tutorial, and it takes you through all of that, including the more complicated one-touch part of this. And indeed, just take a look through the tutorials that the developer education team at Twilio have produced. They are wonderful ways of not just getting started with Twilio, but making production-ready applications, things that will work for you. And it includes very incredibly useful things like click-to-call and masked phone numbers. So masked phone numbers are, if you call like an Uber driver, for example, then they don't get to see your number and you don't get to see their number. So that tutorial will take you through that. Just SMS and MMS notifications, which are highly useful. So check those out. Check the tutorials out. And as we've been saying kind of through the stream, the rest of the Twilio developer evangelism team will be streaming more throughout this week, and in fact throughout the year, really. Oh, we've had a new blog post. So do check out the rest of the team and when they'll be streaming on that blog post, or indeed using the team that Brent just put in. Thank you, Brent. Go check out our team on Twitch. One last thing I'm going to say before I get going is that if you do like Twilio, if you do like what we do, if you are a developer and you're interested in getting together with the whole of Twilio and with a whole bunch of other developers, then I'd really like to invite you to come to our conference in May in San Francisco. The conference is called Signal, and it is going to be 2 intense days of learning about just pro development tips, particularly around communications and things like how to use Twilio, but also kind of other kind of standards-based stuff like WebRTC and other things like that. So that is going to be absolutely crazy. Crazy couple of days, which includes our after party known as Bash, which we had last year, and was just an awful lot of fun with a crazy carnival of coding games, and there is more planned this year. So do think about coming to Signal. It's going to be great, and if you do want to come, you can use the promo code PNASH20, which gets you 20% off a ticket as well. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Do drop me a follow on Twitch. I'll be streaming more of this kind of stuff. I also tend to do JavaScript and front-end things. Do drop me a follow. That'd be great. And hope to see you on Twitch again sometime. Thanks for watching. My name's Phil Ash. I'm a developer evangelist with a company called Twilio. Be great to see you on Twitch again sometime.